Welcome back to Morning Live, and Calvin Judisi is right here with me. And as I mentioned earlier, just talking about the environment as far as your business is concerned, whether a startup or a continuing business, a business that actually caught up with the situation. How is the environment? And trust me, embargoes and red tapes is something that many business people kind of encounter. Also the taxes. Now, the environment really determines how successful a business will be. And Calvin is with me in studio. Good morning, Mr. Judisi. Yeah, it's actually very crazy out here. I know the traffic has been crazy.
It's traffic.
Yeah,
It's quite cold.
yeah, it's
Well,
crazy.
so-
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, as I mentioned, when you talk about creating that environment, you know, it's so ideal to make sure the success is now achieved.
Yeah.
Now, as a business guy, I'm very sure as a startup or someone now you're not experienced in the game,
Yeah.
there's some things that you had to consider to make
Yeah.
sure now at least you have a seamless flow of your desire.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, business environment is really, really key. And not only business environment, but what you really want to get into.
Okay, okay.
So, so the key thing is, you know, understanding what you want to get into, and then understanding the kind of environment that you want to do that, you know, do that particular business. And I mean, looking into competition and other factors, you know, that we're going to discuss.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so there's a look on how you're going to see, you know, the environment, the different environment that you'd like, you know, to set up your business, and what you'd like to achieve, you know, what your projection is, and even probably what's the government policies around those particular, you know, particular sector, because every sector has a government policy that actually, you know, controls it, and that's going to, that will give you also quite information if you're going to decide to go into that business, or you're going to do probably something else.
Okay,
Yeah.
amazing. Now, you know, sometimes we seek advisories, not advisory in terms of warnings or something, just in the name of advice to kind of get the proper, like we call it in the media, recce, whereby you have to research big time before now you indulge into this business. But when you talk about red tapes, whereby competition comes in and just try to bulldoze themselves into your business, because now as much as you're doing well, they're trying also to gag you. Do you think we still have such moments in this country?
I mean, this country has a lot of that. I mean, Kenya is one of very open countries, you know, and so that's the reason why you find that everybody is running into Kenya, because I mean the policy here is, you know, go big or go home, and you've seen it in the past. You've seen, you know, the coming of, you know, different chains of market. Actually, literally right now in Kenya, there's all these different supermarkets that you find. Even, you know, across Africa, across different countries, you know, talking about Carrefour, which I mean, came 3 years ago. Talking about Game, which is a South African chain of market company, also came. Talking about ShopRite, actually, that recently, I was actually surprised to see ShopRite on Garden City. So talking about all these things, and you know, all these guys are coming and competing with the same, you know, we still have our Tuskys here, we still have our Naivas, we still have, you know, those small market. But you know, these guys are coming in this market with, you know, that international aspect. They're coming with a standard, and if you go to those markets, you find like, wow, it's quite different with what we're seeing. So number one, everybody has to understand that Kenya is an open country. Like the field is like a playing ground. So which means that the business that you're seeing today, somebody else is just like, okay, I mean, we're doing this thing probably big in Dubai. Why don't you go into the Kenyan market?
Like souk, actually.
So they will come, you know, kick you out of the market. So the strategy is that you need to really understand your niche. You really need to understand your niche. And when you understand your niche, then stay around your niche. And obviously, as you stay around your niche, then also think of expansion plan. And I think in the previous shows that we've had, the discussion that we had here, is that anybody that's starting something, even if you're a startup, you have to start thinking of how can I do the same thing in another country. You know, how can you do the same thing in Uganda? How can you do the same thing in Rwanda? How can you do the same thing probably even in West Africa as well, because of the bigger market? You can't just say that, you know, I'm going to do it here, because pretty much everybody is coming to Kenya. If you look at some of the big telcos, some of the big tech companies, like, you know, Google is here. You find that maybe very soon Facebook will even have an office here, like a big office here in Kenya. You saw Microsoft recently
country,
just invested $100 million in the, you know, the IT, the data and artificial intelligence center that actually they're creating here for research. So that tells you that all these companies actually looking at this as a potential destination. And if you recently saw the research, it still says that Kenya is actually one of the best tourist destination in Africa. And so it tells you that everybody wants to come and see what's happening here, because Kenya is quite a very open market. I mean, I was discussing that with a friend of mine, because I've traveled at least across East Africa, for example. You find that Kenya is the only country that, you know, language is such easy. I mean, most of us speaks English, and we have alternative Swahili. But if you go to, for example, in Uganda, most people speak Kiganda, which will take you a bit of time to learn. Despite yes, we have English and other language, but you find that most people speak Kiganda. If you go to Rwanda, the same. Most people speak Kinyarwanda. So getting those markets will actually take a little bit of time compared to just coming into Kenya and everybody speaks English or Swahili and you're good to go.
Okay. Now, looking at from a personal experience, now let's use you as a sample. You know, by the time we kind of be given a spotlight by the world that Kenya is among African countries that is highly taxed in terms of even the permits, even the business. Just the environment itself is very hard to settle in.
That's
now,
true.
from example, you know, you as a business person, how is it for you? How is the experience now trying to make sure at least the environment is conducive for your operations?
I mean, it's not easy. One thing I want to say, I mean, it's been quite hard. I mean, I can say for the last 2-3 years in Kenya, I mean, like, you know, 2017, 2018, in 2019 now, things have been really, really tough, you know, and especially for the startups, for small businesses like ours, you know, things have really, really been tough. So, I mean, and definitely, for example, myself, what I've been doing is diversifying. So we're doing a bit of some of the things outside the country. So like, you know, right now we're organizing some of our events in Ghana and also in Uganda. So we try to, you know, do a few things here, but also do a few things outside, do a few things in other markets and all that. Because if you just concentrate on this particular market, it'll be quite a bit hard for survival. So for us, that has been the tactics. But again, I understand, just as I told you, I mean, Kenya being an open market, you'll find that what we are struggling with, so many companies abroad, that's not such a big deal, like paying for those permits and all those things. I mean, they'll just come and pay for all those things. They can actually even pay for 5 years or even 10 years. You know, they've cleared everything. So, and I think what the government need to do is that the government need to try and make conducive environment for startups and also SMEs as well, because that's the biggest challenge there. Because I mean, they need to really see how can they help these small businesses thrive, because that's been the problem. I mean, most of these guys are struggling and all that. You're trying to pay the bills, you're trying to pay the taxes. It's quite crazy.
Now, let's talk about opportunities for investments, because this is the biggest angle whereby now people really have to go through so much processes. And you see, the red tapes kind of just give you this what can I say? It's some sort of like fatigue mindset. You're kind of not ready for even taking through the processes. Even let me give an example. Even just registering a business name, I know that's easy, but now certificate of incorporation, it's been a very difficult time, people even getting this, because now when you talk about opportunities, you've mentioned SMEs, young people trying to initiate the startups, it's been so hard. Now, what do you think should be done? Should be done just to make sure we have this one playing ground level, whereby now, you know, when I go to Calvin, I know he'll sort me out, whereby also you become a destiny shepherd to a young man.
I mean, getting into business is not easy. I mean, that's a fact. That's a fact that we all need to agree with. But again, it's all about process. Like, I mean, obviously the government also is looking for making money, because they have to make sure that they
run the economy.
They make sure that the citizen have the utilities that they need. And so so because of that, definitely they have to put some strings attached. But just as I said, government really need to rethink in terms of even the different cost that implies. You know, so I mean, right now registering a company would cost you roughly like around 10,000 by the
Okay.
time you finish that process.
Yeah, yeah.
And so if there's a way that this process would be reduced, actually, if there's a way that it could cost me 1,000 shillings to register a whole company, I think that would be cool.
And even a business name is around 600 bob. Like
Yeah,
that's
so that's what I'm saying.
Thing, yeah.
If there's a way I could actually register the entire company with 1K, I think that would be the best thing.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, that would be the best thing. But again, you know, just as I said, you know, they're also looking at, you know, how to make money and all that. But for now, you find that the good part, you find that nowadays, if, for example, you have the 1K, you've registered your business name. With the business name nowadays, you can actually have a business account which has that particular. Actually, it's going to be like a mini company. So you're going to have everything in that, and there's even a few government tenders that actually they say, okay, you can actually access these particular tenders with business name. I think tenders like around, let's say, from 5 million going all the way down to 100,000, you can actually even be able to do that with a business name. So you can look at, you know, those processes, and you know, when you have a business name, it's quite easy for you to do small stuff and make your money and you know, make savings and all that. But when it comes to inducing environment for investment, I mean, Kenya still has good opportunity of investment. I mean, we have so many banks that are looking into investing in SMEs, but anyway, there's still a lot of, you know, bottleneck, you know, kind of access to these loans. But again, I'm just thinking, if you're a small business, why should you go for a loan? You know, for me, what I always say is that if you're a small business, try to invest what you have. Try to manage with the little that you have to be able to build yourself.
What if you want expansion at some point?
I mean, one thing that people don't realize, that if you want to expand, you should be able to have the capacity or the money that actually can be able to expand you. So, for example, if today you want to expand and you really need to get a loan, then the loan that you're going to get should be equivalent to the kind of assets or what you already have. You know, so you shouldn't go to, like, you know, I have zero money. I'm thinking like, oh, I need to expand to this market. I mean, I want maybe 10 million, for example, and maybe my business is only worth maybe 1 million. Okay, or even my business is worth $500,000, for example. Maybe $500,000. But I want to take 10 million to be able to expand. That one is like shooting you're shooting yourself. Because
it's true.
if you're going to get 10 million to expand to a different company, your asset should actually be worth 20 million. And because you're not taking a loan to be able to build yourself, but you're taking a loan to invest and generate more capital, you know, and generate more capital, but you're not taking it because you don't have that particular capital.
It's true that.
So I think that's something that we need to look at and just not rush into loans. Most of the time people rush, especially the startups and the SMEs, you rush into loans and it really backfires on you. So before you rush into loans, make sure that you have actually you have that money in form of an asset or something.
Now we can talk like for the rest of the day about youth unemployment. Some lobby groups yesterday asked the president to declare youth unemployment a national disaster, because as it is now, opportunities are becoming scarce, and right now, you know very well, the new currency notes that are being abolished, and of course the new one coming in. It's sparking a lot of conversations. Now let's frame it with opportunities and opening of these the clogged holes that really blocked youths out of the chances they were trying to maneuver through. What do you think about all this now?
I mean, definitely what the government is doing in terms of bringing the new notes is such a good initiative, you know, because I mean, for any country to strive well, and that's what we've seen with, you know, a good example of countries like Singapore, which is one of the best countries in the world. And because number one is that they really had to fight corruption, and if you really have to fight corruption, then you need to look for different ways that you're going to fight that particular corruption. And so the government is really trying to do, you know, introducing the new notes and putting these deadlines that, you know, by this particular time you should actually not have this kind of notes. Because I mean, definitely because of the hard times and all that, most people actually keep money in their houses. That's a fact. You know, most people have kept those millions and millions and all that.
What will happen? What will happen?
Yeah, but you see again, I mean that should not be a threat, because if you really know that you have your money in you know, you got your money in the right way, it's only that you kept it in the house, you didn't keep it in the bank, which probably is I mean, it's not good just to hoard money. But if that is what you choose, you can decide to take your money back in the bank, and you have a reason why. You can explain where this money, the money came from, and basically that will be just fine.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't see there's any challenge in that in that particular way. But for the young people, yeah, I have to say it's been quite tough. Even sometimes getting internship, because one of the things that we also do is that we try to help. Actually young people get internships and also even get young people get employment. But sometimes it's really, really good. I mean, it's really, really hard. You're going to call like maybe 5 or 10 friends, like, hey, do you have a space in your company? We can get someone. It's like, no, you know, we don't have a space. You don't have a space. So it's really, really tough, and I think the government need to do more. And probably work on more policy in terms of employment, like, you know, the foreign companies that we bring in the country, what kind of percentage of people should they be able to take? And because if you go to country, for example, like Rwanda, if you're a foreign company, you're told that this is the number of people that you actually should employ from Rwanda.
Wow.
You know, these are the number of Rwandese that you should employ. So I don't know if you have such kind of policy, because I haven't seen that. But I think that should be there. You know, we have all these big companies coming in and all that. We could say, okay, we're going to do it 50-50. So if you're going to employ 50% foreigners, you're going to employ 50%. Or we're going to do it even 60-40. You know, employ our people 60%, and you're going to employ some, I mean, people from other countries, or expatriates and all that from other countries at this 40%. So I think those are some of the policies that actually need to be, need to be pushed, so that we can have more young people accessing these particular jobs. And also, last but not least is, you know, every job advertisement, you always get experience. Like, you know, want somebody 3 years experience, 10 years experience and all that. And most of these young people don't have those kind of experience. Is there the way that the government can pass a policy that actually can be able to lower those experiences? And also government need to push, you know, because government works a lot with the private sector, which at least in Kenya, we have a very strong private sector alliance, which is called KEPSA, which really manages most of the you know, the private sector, most of the private companies. Can government work also with these companies, that most of these companies should have internship programs, so they should have
paid internship programs.
Actually paid internship programs. So they should have maybe paid internship programs that actually now can be able to take more young people to be able to have that particular experience, because it's not only, you know, through that. Let's say if somebody go for internship for like maybe 1 year experience, they'll actually have a very good experience. They already have 1 year experience, they can easily get a job.
There's something interesting from Linda Tahani, who says, I'm truly worried about the latest unemployment figures. There is a relationship between youth unemployment and criminal records, but because a majority of companies, if not all, are vetting the employees, wherein those with criminal records are discarded. Now, look at this now. Very interesting talk right here. Unemployment, criminal record. But now you're being vetted, and then you're thrown out because now at some point in your life you're employed, and you had to kind of indulge in some shambolic activities and shortcuts, and then now that's it for you. That's it for you. So coming back to these unemployment figures, you've told us so vibrant ideas about just creating that conducive environment. But looking at the environment with no one, looking at that, there's no security, nothing for you to take a loan for a capital, nothing. So what next?
I mean, due diligence is really key, and that one we cannot go out of it. I mean, every company has. I mean, you really want to get the right people to work with. You don't want to work with a criminal, you know, unless he's been cleared. And so we need to understand the aspect of clearance. And that's the reason why we always have what we call is called certificate of good conduct. Meaning that, yes, I might have been a criminal before, but they now feel that Calvin is fit. You know, and that's the reason why we have jails and all that. Because those are points of correction. So you shouldn't have a problem just because I was in, I was jailed maybe 3 years ago on this particular matter, and I served my time in jail. I cleared up, and now I'm clean, and I have my certificate of good conduct saying that, you know, Calvin is a clean man. So I think companies obviously should not prejudice in terms of past, past criminal activity or
and
past
records,
or past record, because everybody has, one or two, challenges that they face in life. So for me, I think the best thing is that make sure that their records are clean, and most of the time it's very simple. Bring certificate of good conduct. Certificate of good conduct simply says that Nick doesn't have, I mean, Nick is a clean guy. He might have been in prison before, but now he's a clean guy. He's actually employable. You can actually work with him. He's trustworthy. We've corrected him for the last maybe 1 year, and now he's a good guy. So
that's kind of a risk as far as an employer's angle is concerned. When you get a recommendation that someone X is a clean guy, but he's been in prison for 2 years, but we hope he will change anyway.
No, but you see, if you're going to judge in that way, then you won't employ nobody.
But see, some guys don't want to take risks. You see, human capital is an investment.
That's very true.
I'll have to take care of you, medical insurance. I'll have to train you some very many aspects of operations. But now, there's no way you can take a criminal in. Anyway, sorry for another.
He's a past criminal. He's not a criminal anymore.
He's a past criminal.
He's not. It's just like the way we, when we say you're born again. When you're born again, Christ has washed your sin. You must have been a sinful man, but now you're born again and now you're clean. It's the same thing. This guy is now very clean, and actually he can take that opportunity and he can turn your company into a different angle. So if you look at that way, then we actually can be able even to have more young people get into this job, because probably this person got into that mess when they were silly, they were not, they were not mature enough. Or even it was just a setup.
Now, youth fund. In this country, we have youth fund, and we really don't understand the criteria in which people are given funds. And it's very crazy, because now, when you talk about unemployment and the opportunities and the business environment, let's go back to youth fund. And I believe this is the area where we need to really, really focus on, because now the money, what do you think? Have you ever heard of anything, maybe from youth fund, that is actually helping a group of youth somewhere, and maybe there's some good results where, and is it selective? Because Kenya, we have a problem.
I'm not an employee of youth fund, but I've worked with, I've interacted with youth fund before. We've worked with them before. Number one, youth fund exists. That one is that's a key. And it's actually helping.
And you see, I understand the keyword is helping. You've actually given us that green light, but still, who are these people being helped? What's the criteria to apply for funds from these guys? Now, paying back these funds, just to make sure maybe the young person out there who feels like, he feels or she feels like she needs to or he needs to start a business, can approach them. What's the criteria? How do they operate?
Number one, youth fund actually office is in Upper Hill. They actually in the Britam building just next to Radisson Blu. So that's where they're on the 4th floor. So that's number one way of getting information. So if, for example, if you cannot go online on their website, because they have a very functioning website, if you go to the Youth Fund website, you'll be able to get all the information. If you cannot be able to get that information, you go to their office, their office being on Upper Hill, the building, the Britam building just next to Radisson Blu. And if you ask anyone there, they're actually going to show you where the office is. So that's number one. Number two is that the way Youth Fund works, so far Youth Fund, the way it really works, it works with groups. So definitely, if you're going to take as an individual, it's a bit risk averse. So they might not be interested to work with you. But if you can be able mshikane wase kiasi useme, okay, si tuko wase watano, tuko na hii idea, tunataka maybe kuanza car wash, or we want to do some, or we want to start a butchery, or want to do some kind of business. Mshikane watu watano, mko na business plan. And business plan is very simple. Mwandika kitu yenye mnataka kudo, and then you just have projection. You see, for us to start our business, we need maybe $500,000. For this $500,000, in the next 6 months, this $500,000, we are looking at it raising this, making this number of profit, this amount of profit. After that, after 3 years, you can even have a projection of after 3 years. After 3 years, this and this and this will make this amount of money. This is how we're planning to return this money. And so you have to have that clear plan. But you see, most of our young people, kukaa tu chini uandike hiyo plan inakuanga tu ngori.
Inakuwa ngumu,
You know,
yeah,
it's something hard,
sure,
you know.
sure.
It's like, oh mazee sasa nitakaaje chini niandike hii plan hata sijui ngoso, you know. But we have to, you know, as young people, seriously, we have to take that step. I mean, nothing is easy, you know, and obviously being young, you're not young forever.
Yeah,
you know,
course,
kuna time hata kuna watu wa young watakuwa na struggle and those things that you actually been struggling with. So you need to understand that you're not growing young. So you have to get, if it's your brother who is, if you know your brother or your friends have maybe a brother or a sister who can actually help you guys do that thing, talk to them, say si unaweza tusaidia kutengeneza business plan, tupeleke huko youth fund, tuone kama unaweza kusupportia idea yetu.
What's the process? Maybe you have to wait for maybe 6 months, a year.
No, I mean the way I've seen is, you know, once you have the business, the business plan, your figures looks very good, then I think within 2 or 3 weeks you're able to get your loan.
Which figure?
I mean, your figures in terms
like
of
what you want.
Yeah, for example, what you want.
Not your records.
And then
now this is a young man who doesn't have
actually
maybe.
what you want and how you project your business to be.
Okay.
But again, just as any lending institution, there are also a few strings attached. There are few, you know, because this guy, yes, this money ni ya gava, but again, wanataka hii pesa isiishe. So they want always, because it's a revolving fund.
Cycle, actually,
you know, they don't want nimepatia Calvin do. Calvin actually hata alishindwa kulipa hiyo do amekula hata busy yenyewe. So like the money has not helped you. The money has not ijarudi back to them. Like it's like they gave you like, you know, half a million. It's like, hey guys, there's $500,000 here. Can we go and drink and have fun?
All right. Thank you so much, Calvin, for coming today.
No
problem, and I believe the young people have actually had. Let them go find it physically, because I feel like when you have the desire to go find it yourself, you'll have even the more desire actually to now make the application. And the unemployment thing is still a very big issue.
Yeah, and if they have any problem, I mean, they can tweet me on you know, at Calvin Jodisi, or just, you know, I mean, any contact or social media, Calvin Jodisi, just contact me. I'll actually connect with the right people.
All right. Thank you, Calvin, for coming. We're now taking a short break. When we come back right in Morning Live, we're talking about women empowerment now on the education sector. Stay tuned to Morning Live.